बस स्टॉप कर देना मैम जैसे इवेंट खत्म होगा.
Okay. So, hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Sir, Abhijit is with here, and now we can start.
Abhijit is yes, I am able to see him.
Yeah. Abhijit, could you please unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Abhijit.
Good morning, sir.
So you are from Nasik right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So your firm is basically working in Maharashtra or Pan India?
Pan India. Most of the work is online. That's why.
Okay. And you have a team of how many people?
We have 18 people.
Okay, very good, very good. So, ma'am, Dr. Mini?
Yes, sir.
Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, slides are working.
Yes, sir. Everything is working. Everything is okay.
So, very good morning to all of you and dear participants. Today, weather has taken a change, and we are delighted in this changed weather to welcome Mr. Abhijit from KindLab, who is the founder and CEO of this organization. The organization is based at Nasik, Maharashtra, and they are working in all aspects of IP management, right from IP protection to technology transfer, commercialization, giving consulting to various organizations. Today's workshop is another chapter in the series of webinars which we have started at IPR Cell IIT Roorkee, where we try to create more and more awareness related to IP aspects. At IIT Roorkee, we are looking after how we can make our campus more IP savvy, and this requires providing all kind of support for IP protection, then helping our researchers in commercialization of their IP, and then we also need to see that how long we should carry that IP, because it is not simply the protection where the story ends. That is rather the beginning of the game, when we have to finally go for commercialization, see what will be the forecasting of this particular technology. So there are multiple dimensions of this IP related activities. Most of the time, we consider IP more from the legal point of view, but Mr. Abhijit will be discussing in today's session that it is much beyond legal aspects. You have to see the entire management perspective of intellectual property, and it's not only simply the management of patents. how you manage copyrights, how you manage your industrial design, how you manage your trademarks, geographical indicators. So multiple type of IP are there. And today's talk with Mr. Abhijit will help us to go through these aspects of IP management. And a particular word has been added to the talk, that is strategic IP management. That how an organization can get competitiveness using the proper IP tools. So that is how it has become a strategic war game these days, because organizations like Apple and Samsung and these kind of organizations, they are already using IP for their strategic advantage. And it is time, high time, that Indian organizations should also start using IP for their benefit. I can just tell you, this is a live streaming of the program. Still, I will not mind saying that last Friday, the journal which is published by Intellectual Property Office of Government of India, I saw that one university, I will not name, one university has 35 patents published in that single issue. So that is the kind of focus institutions are giving. And by the way, I came to know the name of that university only because of that. Before that, I was not even knowing that university. That is not a prominent place where these kind of institutions are there. But if you go to that particular issue of 4th December, you automatically can see about which university I am talking. So there is a lot of emphasis on intellectual property and its management. And I hope all our participants will take good benefit of today's talk, and they will interact with Mr. Abhijit, because we are already doing a lot of workshops on various aspects. So many questions keep coming, and different speakers have their own way to explain the concepts. So I looking after that more questions come, and Mr. Abhijit will be able to help us in clearing those myths, those doubts with the factual information. So over to Dr. Mini to introduce Mr. Abhijit formally.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone, and I would like to extend my warm welcome to you all. We hope today you will learn something new and exciting aspects of IP strategic management. And before I take the opportunity to introduce our speaker, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Professor Rajat Agarwal, IPR Cell Coordinator and IPR Chair IIT Roorkee, for his constant support and encouragement in organizing various IP awareness workshops. Now, with immense pleasure, I would like to give a brief introduction about today's speaker, Mr. Abhijit, founder and CEO, Kannad Lab. Kannad Lab is an Institute of Intellectual Property and Research, a startup and intellectual property consulting firm which works for providing all strategic IP and startup related services. In 2009, Mr. Abhijit was awarded by Global Youth Leadership Award by Global Youth Parliament and Global Law Thinkers Society for his extraordinary contribution for youth empowerment in the sector of startups, innovation, and intellectual property. This award was presented at Dhaka, national capital of Bangladesh, by the hands of AKM Mojammal Haq, Minister of Liberation and War Affairs, Government of Republic of Bangladesh. Currently, Kannad Lab operates throughout India for assisting innovators and entrepreneurship from different startups, corporates, and research organizations. He also writes articles in newspapers and magazines based on his experience. Here, I invite Mr. Abhijit for his lecture.
Okay, shall I start?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mini. First of all, I'm very grateful unto you that you provided me the opportunity to discuss my little experience in the sector with you all. Myself, Abhijit. I'm founder and CEO of Kannad Lab Institute of Intellectual Property and Research. I have been working in the sector for last 7 years, and my working domain is in intellectual property management. So today's topic for discussion is strategic intellectual property management. Often, the web covering these topics, we will cover all the sections of intellectual property management tools and where intellectual property management can be used. So we will divide the webinar into two different segments. First will be basics of intellectual property, which we will cover in 10 minutes, first 10 minutes, and later we will cover intellectual property management. Innovation has become a crucial success factor for the companies, which every needs a fundamental skill, and that is innovation. So why we are talking about innovation? Because the subject we will be discussing today is very closely related to innovation. Competitors will inevitably overtake, just 1 minute. Competition will inevitably overtake any company which stops innovating and improving itself. So it's almost impossible to think about growing and scaling any organization if we are not using innovation. And where there is innovation, there is intellectual property. So we all are technology people. That's why uh, it will not be practical to discuss what are basics of intellectual property, but still we will just fastly move on. What are properties and what are the significance of intellectual properties? So what are properties? Anything which can be owned. The food you eat, the clothes you wear, the vehicle you drive, all these are properties. The house you live in, that is a property. Are of different types, like these are all physical properties, tangible properties and intangible properties. Properties are broadly classified into these two categories. Tangible properties are often called as physical properties. Physical properties are those properties which can be sensed physically, or which we can sense with our organs, like building, land, garments, furniture, automobile. So these are physical. Non-physical properties are those properties which exist either digitally or legally or financially. So cryptocurrencies, stocks options of companies. So these are non-physical properties. Intellectual property is also a kind of non-physical property. Of course, these are different kind of non-physical properties. Intellect little bit different. What is intellectual property? Intellectual property is a creation of human mind, a creation of human intellect. So what can be considered as intellectual creation? Intellectual creation, usually it may be a creation of brain or a creation of mind or combination of brain and mind. So in other words, we can say it may be a scientific creation or it may be artistic creation. So these are some of the things which we can consider them as an intellectual property. Inventions, it may be any product, process, or system. Designs, product designs, engineering designs, appearance, look of the product, these kind of aspects, color, pattern, all these things. Literature is also intellectual property, because there is need of significant use of significant intellect to generate literature. It may be a book, poem, article, blogs, songs, and drama. So these are basically some of the. I have taken this just as an example, but beyond this also intellectual properties extends, like videos, audios, photographs. Photographs are also intellectual creation. Then graphics, logos, symbol, advertising material, patterns, graphic designs, and user interfaces. So paintings. Paintings is an artistic creation. Advertising material. We all know what importance advertising hold in today's generation, today's era. So everything we choose to buy is advertised to us. So we somewhere either it's by showcasing, it's by any kind of digital or physical kind of advertisement, but we get attracted due to advertisements. So advertisements, the new tricks of advertisement, color patterns, their appearances, so all those things can also be protected under intellectual property. Softwares, of course we don't have software patenting provisions yet in India, but softwares can be protected under copyrights. And soft related things like algorithms, flowcharts, block diagrams can also be protected. 3D objects, trade symbols, all logos, brand names, taglines, color combinations, all those things are trade symbols, branding related things. So those are also intellectual properties. Then slogans, political, it may be a political slogan. Then business slogans and association slogans. So slogans are also part of intellectual property. Craft, handloom products, Kanjivaram silk, yeah, then Paithani, all those are handloom products. Woodworks, Rajasthani woodworks, then stonework, jo red stonework. It's very famous Rajasthani stonework that also comes under intellectual property. And clay work. Packaging designs. It is also part of advertising material only, advertising and related things, but that also can be protected under intellectual property. New plant varieties, new crops, varieties of wheat and rice, all those things can also be protected. Designs, those are also uh, some of the integrated circuits can be protected under patents also, and there is separate protection for integrated circuits as Integrated Circuit Layout Design Act, so under which we can protect integrated circuits. Business secrets, it is also called as trade secret, sometimes commercial secrets. So those secrets like data of customers, some kind of business strategies, some secret research and analysis data. So that is business secrets, and that is also part of intellectual property. Social media handles, we can say it as the 21st century's intellectual property. Domain name and social media handles. So these are very crucial properties which most of the uh, traditional businesses neglect, and that also is one of the important property. New materials and chemicals can also be protected because they are all intellectual creation. Performances, dance performances, drama, musical concerts, then art performances, and live broadcast of sport matches and speech, concerts, all those things are intellectual creation. Video games can also be considered as intellectual creation. And recipe, last one. We Indians are very fond of eating. That's why many things we cook on daily basis can be protected as intellectual property. Obviously, not just mere admixture of things can be protected, but there are certain criteria. If you fulfill that criteria, recipes can also be protected. These are the things which we just discussed. These are some of the examples of intellectual creation. An intellectual creation which is having some value and which can be owned is a intellectual property. IP is the oil of the century. What a bold statement. The importance oil gained in last century, IP is holding in 21st century. So that's why it is said IP is the oil of 21st century. And this statement informs us about the importance of intellectual property. In other words, we can also say IP is the future of 21st century. What are intellectual property rights? There is a difference in intellectual property and intellectual property right. Usually we use these terms in same context, but these are different terms. Intellectual property is something which we discussed previously. Intellectual property rights are the rights provided to protect that property. The rights given to the tangible expression of the intangible idea of human mind. Most often I hear that ideas can be protected by intellectual property, but it is not like that. The tangible expression of intangible idea of human mind can be protected. So your idea should be expressed in certain expressions, then only those idea can be protected. Means if you have any idea, technical invention related idea, you have to convert it into some uh, expressions like into invention or some enablement formats. If you have some idea, some express ideas related to writing some book, you have to write it firstly and then it will get protection. So these are some of the things about intellectual property rights. What are the types of IPR? We all know these are the types of IPRs: patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, GI, geographical indications, new plant variety protection, IC layout design protection, and domain name social media handles. So these are functional IPs in India. Apart from these, many IPs are there which are according geographies. Like in Africa, there are different kind of other IPs too. In US and China, there are utility models. Like it is also called as mini patents. Uh, it's like a patent only, but little bit different. So there are many other IPs too, which are functional in other countries. In India we file around on an average 50,000 patent applications a year, and out of which means and granting rate is 80,000 on an average. Sorry, 18,000 granting rate, and out of which means in every 100 patent applications, 95 patent applications are just patent applications, patents, granted patents I am talking about, and only 5 patents get commercialized. So that is mismatch, and that mismatch is due to non-awareness of intellectual property management, because companies really don't know where to invest money in intellectual property and where not to, and which assets should be protected and which should not be. So we will be discussing why it is important intellectual property management and how it exactly deals with all these things. In long term, it is essential that IP be integrated into a business and the business into the IP. And this thing is lacking in India. We are protecting patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, but we don't know whether it is satisfying the objectives of our business. We are very the business objectives are different, and IP strategies are different. Or I would rather say there are to most of the businesses in India. And that is the reason why we are not able to leverage our IP rights to the fullest. These are the 4 things: filing, prosecuting, maintaining, and enforcing. So these are the 4 things which we usually hear about, and ultimately these are the 4 things which constitutes India's IP sector. But there is one more important thing, that is managing IPs, that is lacking. Very few firms, very few professionals in India have knowledge about this thing, and that too, it's very difficult to propagate knowledge of intellectual property management into MSMEs and new startups. So we will not be discussing about legal formalities for intellectual property right protection. We will be talking about how the intellectual property rights can give you uh, the maximum possible output, and what are the tools for managing intellectual properties. So what is IPM? These are four foundational blocks of intellectual property management. Optimizing the process of IP acquisition, IP maintenance, IP exploitation, and IP enforcement. So optimizing means whatever investment we are making, we should get maximum output out of that. IP acquisition is a costly process. Maintenance is more than that costly. Exploitation and enforcement. So these are very complex processes and requires much attention, much efforts and investment. That's why intellectual property deals with these four things. Why IPM is important? Most of the people don't know why it is necessary to use management related techniques in intellectual property, because these are assets. Acquiring and maintaining intellectual properties require huge investment. Just for example, if you have patented any invention in India and now you wanted to protect it in other countries, you will require at least 20-25 lakh rupees. I'm talking on average. If you want to protect in 50 countries, it may cross the 1 CR. Okay, so that's the huge investment, and in that case, it's very important to know whether the investment is worth and whether it will give us return. So that's why all those things can be managed and can be analyzed by intellectual property management. Another one reason is getting IPs registered is one of the complex and difficult process. It's uh, it is very difficult because in current scenario only 18 to 19 applications get patent out of 100, and of course they, according to intellectual properties, the different type of IPs, the rate of granting and registration is different, but still getting patent is not easy in India, and that's why it is it is necessary to implement intellectual property. Process of IP registration is very lengthy. That is another reason, because on an average, if you want a grant of patent in India, it takes at least 2.5 years, at least. In case of startups, they have provided certain provisions, building up of application. Still, it takes 1 year. Okay, so that's why intellectual property management, which assets to protect, which not to protect, which ways to select, which ways we should avoid, all these things uh, can be on from intellectual property management tools. Losing IP may result in huge losses for organizations. You all might be knowing many patent, like many pharma industries I have seen, they just have one patent application, one patent, and based on that patent, they have entire manufacturing unit. And this is the situation of many industries. Of course, not single patent always, but if any patent is lost, any trademark case, in case any kind of disputes, any kind of other things, if company loses its intellectual property, then it may result in huge losses for that organization. And that's why it's important to properly manage intellectual property. Works, how intellectual property management works. Basically, these are all the questions which intellectual property management answers. Intellectual property management try to find out answers of these questions. Why do we need it? These are some of the common questions, but there are many things which intellectual property management try to analyze and try to critically think on whether they are really needed and how they can be leveraged to the fullest extent. So these are some of the things. where do we need it, means where those intellectual properties can be protected, where those IPs can be used, what will it cost, then what has it earned, uh, of course, how much value it created. All those things intellectual property finds out, and based on the data, based on the facts collected in all these takes decision. Okay, then what is the difference between IP attorneys and IP managers? Because most of us only knows IP attorneys. They may be a patent agent, copyright, trademark agents, or IP lawyers. So IP managers are a bit different from them. IP attorneys know the legal aspects of intellectual property, means protection, enforcement related things, and other things. Managers are basically those people who take decisions which kind of IPs to protect, which kind of IPs to dissolve, and where to spend money and where not to. So they are very uh, business, then finance, then legal and technology. So IP attorneys and IP managers, these are two different roles and they have these kind of responsibilities. Drive of effective IP management should always be the creation of value in line with the business strategy. So this is the foundation of intellectual property management. Whatever intellectual properties we protect, whatever IP management related things we do, that should always be in line with business strategy. Because ultimately, what we need from intellectual property is revenue generation. Most of the businesses in India lack this approach. They just protect patents, trademarks, copyrights, designs, but they don't know how to use it for business growth or business scaling. So business strategy, the IP strategy, IP management strategy should be one part of a business strategy. It should not be something different from business strategy. Intellectual property strategy. Of course, now whatever we discussed previous intellectual property management, it's a tool of intellectual property management only, but it has a separate importance. It has a special importance because intellectual property strategy is the document which gives you entire overview of what we are going in coming years. Moreover, a plan which informs about plans we will be implementing. So an IP strategy is simply a plan consistent with the company's business goals to acquire IP assets and leverage the most value from existing IP assets. So whatever we discussed in IPM, the same thing, but in some different way intellectual property strategy implements. So we will discuss what kind of things intellectual property strategy includes and why it's important. First of all, intellectual property strategy. If a company has a well written, well drafted intellectual property strategy, then all the team members of an organization gets informed that what we are going to do about these IPs. What are the next targets? What is the agenda of organization about intellectual properties? So many times this happens when there is a large organization. Each department acts differently and with their different agendas. If the strategy is they are not aware about strategy, so that is why it is very important for any organization, I am talking about small startups as well, that they should have a well drafted written intellectual property strategy. Knowing the right sequence of operations is also important. Most of the times it happens because people are not aware about what kind of things should be done first and what kind of things should be performed later. That's why they lose many IP rights. Like some of my clients before taking consulting from my firm, they just the 2-3 cases I encountered. Many times it happens like they open their inventions in some exhibitions, some technical events, and then later they, or in most of the times technical publications also, and invention. So that is the wrong sequence, and this is a famous this is very repetitive case, but many that kind of examples are there where the right sequence is absent, and that is why company face huge losses. So that can be determined by intellectual property strategy, knowing what to keep and what not to, or more important, to know what not do to do, because intellectual property, uh, protecting and maintaining and then transferring intellectual properties includes many processes, and that's why it's important to know what not to do, because if just a single wrong step can wipe out everything. That's why it's important to know what to keep and what not to, and that you can understand with well drafted intellectual property strategy. Budget allocation, this is also one of the important tasks of intellectual property strategy. Assets identification, of course, this is also this is one of the fundamental thing which an IPM does. So this is first step whenever we want to implement IPM. First is we should do. So these are three things which we usually look for when we identify any assets to protect. Technical brightness, whether it is adding some technical advancement in the art. Legal strength, whether it can be protected legally, whether the protection will be strong or not. So this is the second aspect. And third one, most important, what will be the economic potential of this thing? So that may be kind of IP, it's not only about patents. Patents is most widely discussed in intellectual property because we are technical people. But other IPs also, copyrights, trademarks, designs, technical brightness, legal strength, and economic potential. These are the three things uh, with which we can filter out which properties should be protected and which should not be. We will move to tools of intellectual property management. What are the tools and how those tools can be used? Due diligence. Is very important whenever it's the technique of commerce industry. Whenever they deal with other party, they, and if the finance is involved, they perform due diligence. Due diligence is the process of inquiring about critical aspects of other party and ensuring that nothing is going wrong. So because in it happens that uh, some fraud kind of things may happen, that's why it's the process of inquiring, and that's the usually it is they don't inform other parties. So in some cases they involve other party too. So that is the process. Whenever acquire some IPs, whenever we sell IPs, whenever we license IPs, so it's necessary to do perform diligence of other, because that will give you idea about the uh, entire situation of other party, and what are their hidden aspects, what kind of aspects we should uh, consider before doing this deal. So that is the significance of due diligence, and that is one of the tool of intellectual property management. Whenever intellectual property management, uh, there are different tools, but each tool has their own significance, and they uh, collectively work for saving money, time, and efforts of the owner of intellectual property rights. So this then IP accounting, because IP, intellectual property, is like normal properties. It can be inherited, sold out, it can be licensed, it can also be leased. So these are all the normal rules of intellectual properties. All the normal rules of properties are also applicable to intellectual properties. But of course, there are some differences. Like physical properties are, the basic function itself is a different, and IP is functionally different thing. That's why there are different. Some of the principles are different, but many things are as it is. IP accounting is the thing which which a company need to perform on regular basis. Yes, like financial accounting, that is the same thing, IP accounting. Then IP taxation. IP is liable for tax because IP is a property. So whenever we sell it, whenever we purchase it, every time IP is liable. So these are a separate segments, entire industries are there under these separate topics: IP taxation, IP accounting, and IP valuation. IPs are properties, that's why they also have economic value. There are monetary valuation, there are commercial valuations. So whenever we sell, purchase, license anything, we need to perform IP valuation in case of mergers and acquisitions, in case of splitting out of companies, like uh, many companies get splitted out into two or many other branches. So at that time, IP valuation is the thing which valuates all those assets which are intangible in nature, because it's very easy to evaluate those assets which are physical assets, like a factory, any building, furniture, all these are physical assets. But it's very difficult to analyze and valuate those assets which are non-physical, like goodwill is also a non-physical asset. Then trademark, all the brand related things, know-hows means secret things, whatever the uh, operational things, other things, research related data, patents, trademarks. So all these things, it's very difficult to evaluate all those things. So they have given a separate stream, IP valuation. So people who perform IP valuation are called IP valuation analyst, and those are experts of intellectual property, technology, and finance. So these are the things. IP valuation is one of the very prestigious career, because in India we have very few people who perform IP valuation. IP audits, IP audit and financial audit, there is very much difference. Financial audit is related to checking financial details. IP audits are for checking IP related things, like how many IPs we have protected, how many applications we have filed, and how many uh, applications got rejected. Then how much we are spending on uh, in protecting intellectual properties, how much we are spending on maintaining IPs, which IPs are giving us returns and which IPs are not giving us returns, which IPs are important for our future plans and which are obsolete IPs. So which IP should be dissolved. So all those things can be determined by IP audits. IP audit is a systematic process for determining the exact status, current status of intellectual properties in the organization. So IP audits, many organizations use IP audits. IP related agreements. This is also one of the neglected part. IP related agreements are very important. Usually companies sign agreements, but they don't have that much track records of agreement, and it can lead to a huge loss an organization. So IP related agreements is also one of the important tool of intellectual property management, and the clauses thereunder should be selected very carefully, and it's a separate science to choose a kind of agreements and clauses whenever we are dealing with other parties. uh, Selection of proper agreements, proper clauses, contracts and other things may save you from huge loss, because agreements is the thing which will ensure safety in entire deal. Many times it happens until the deal is finally done and the money is transferred to account of other person, there is always a possibility to get some unexpected. That's why IP related agreements should be done. So that is a separate thing. Usually people working in these sectors are CS, company secretaries, and some IP attorneys too. So these are not IP agreements, basically these are IP related agreements. Portfolio management. Management is also flourishing sector in India. Many companies have their of patents, trademarks, copyrights. Like if you consider Hindustan, if you consider Unilever has at least 800 to 900 trademarks, portfolio of trademark in India itself. So managing such vast wide portfolios, it's very difficult because uh, as we discussed previously, processes are quite lengthy and complex. That's why it requires proper management. So IP portfolio management is also one of the uh, premium careers nowadays, and uh, there are many softwares for IP portfolio management. Still, uh, things like in India we don't have Indian kind of softwares for IP portfolio management. We are copying Western countries for this, and there is there are still lot of things which can be done in this sector. Okay, then IP informatics. All know that IP is related to information, and there is vast information which we need to which we need to generate, which we need to save, and when it is required we need to retrieve it. Proper information retrieval should be done. So all those things comes under IP informatics. This is also one of the separate sector which most of the people don't know about. So those who are information technology related people, those who are interested in some software related things, they can look into. Okay, IP enforcement, this is also one of the tool. Of course the people who handle IP enforcement are lawyers. The people who deal with or coordinate with IP lawyers are IP agents, patent agents and other things, and most often IP strategists and IP managers are also involved in IP enforcement. IP enforcement is the thing which can earn money for the organization, which save an organization from possible arrangements, because when once the IP enforcement is done, many other organizations who want to copy that thing, they stop at the point. So it's the tool for earning money also, and it is the tool for stopping infringements. Okay, when IPM is used, we discuss some of the tools of intellectual property management. There are many other tools also, but these are some basic tools which we should know about. Now, where intellectual property management can be used. Now we will discuss applications of intellectual property management. This is last topic. And acquisitions. Whenever two companies merge into single company, when a company acquires other company, at that point, as I said previously, valuation assets is very easy, but valuation of tangible assets is at that time intellectual property management plays a role. Intellectual property negotiation is one of the very complex job which requires knowledge of many sectors: technology, business, finance, accounting, legal matters, and government procedure. So that comes under intellectual property management. Franchising. Franchise re- a great knowledge of intellectual property management, because franchising is the activity which is a combination of many collective, many small things like trademark licensing, patent licensing, then transferring know-hows, tracking record of all those things. All these things can be managed by intellectual property management. Okay. Role of IPM in assignments, licensing and cross licensing. Assignments means when a person, the owner of IP rights, sells his IPRs to other person, that is assignment. Assignment means selling IP rights entirely. When we purchase something from grocery store, it means that that particular thing now belongs to us because we have paid for that. That is assignment. Licensing means we are paying to IP right for using that particular intellectual property, but it doesn't mean that we are the owner of that property. We have just taken the permission. In certain cases, there are licenses like that is called as exclusive licenses, are those licenses which excludes us from using that property for that particular period. So there are different types of licenses. Sub-licensing. Whenever IPO license out his property to some person, if that person is again licensing the property to third party, that is sub-licensing. And cross-licensing. Many times such things happen when two companies having same consumer base but having different products. They want to use each other's IPs, like for cross, yeah, some manufacturing related things. If first company want to use patents of second company and second company wants to patent of first company, so they don't pay each others, they directly use patents of each others, and they have cross licensing agreement. So these are four things when intellectual property management is an crucial role. These are also complex processes, because these are complex because of these are not very common processes, and there are very few professionals who can perform these processes. Not all IP agents do these things. Role of IPM: strategic business partnerships. Strategic business partnerships means any particular project or for any particular cause, if that particular partner made, that is strategic partnership. So in that case also intellectual property management can play important role. IP as a collateral. Cases if property is having that potential that can earn money. Recently going through one of the article, and I read that the trademark Apple Corporation is more than worth of Mukesh Ambani. So trademarks value is more than his person's net worth. So that is the value of intellectual property. And collateral means when someone wants to take loan from banks, it can be used as a collateral, and intellectual property management tools can be used for this purpose. And our last thing is mediation and dispute resolution. Mediation and dispute resolution: whenever disputes arise, some IP wars, some disputes related to IPs, in that management plays important role, because that is the thing when negotiation, IP related things, and understanding of all these things, technology, business, finance, accounting, and law is required, and that can be done by intellectual property management. So these were the things which are the part of intellectual property management. Okay, we can have question answer session quickly, and then we can end.
Thank you, Abhijit.
Yeah.
Now I request all attendees if they have any questions, so they can type in the chat window and we can take one by one. Abhijit, meanwhile they are typing, I just have one query regarding this. Like companies have trademarks. So, do you think that trademarks really a good proximity for commercialization of technological products? Do you think so?
Yeah, trademark is basically identity
Yeah.
of anything. Like
Mhm.
not in just industries, you can just imagine
Mhm.
in our day-to-day life. If there
Yes.
is some distinct characteristics to some products or daily use products,
Mhm.
we easily remember that. Just we are
Exactly.
talking about technical products. That recently we just had we trademarked one product that is
Mhm.
save compressor air saving technology,
Mhm.
and due to that product, that
Mhm.
unique distinctive characteristics,
Mhm.
it got famous in industry in that particular
Mhm.
area. So that
Mhm.
is the thing. When people pronounce that, people have recall value of that product. If there is a recall value to that product, then people recall that, and
Mhm.
that practically associates consumers with that product. So that's why it's necessary to have trademark, to not only to technological products, to each and every product.
Okay. Okay.
There
Okay.
you will do unified branding, or whether you
Mhm.
will do normal branding. Like unified
Mhm.
branding is like Patanjali do usually. They
Okay.
use to protect to sell many products, but there are
Mhm.
normal brandings also, like Unilever does. They
Mhm.
protect each and every uh, with different brand identities. Okay? So
Mhm.
the brand
Mhm.
strategies are different, but it is required to protect trademark.
Okay. Okay. And the other is there is Mr. Sarthak Gupta. He want to ask you that how can I patent my idea while keeping it a secret?
Patent is this is a contradictory question actually, because
Exactly.
patents are provided for
Mhm.
disclosure idea. It's not
Mhm.
a trade secret. Trade secret usually is for keeping your idea secret. Patents disclosing your idea. Government is giving you right for 20 years just to disclose that idea, but government is assuring you legal protection for that idea. After 20 years, the idea will be in public domain. So there
Mhm.
are, I don't think you are asking about legal procedures, but
Mhm.
I think you got the answer.
The other question he is asking that how long does it take to patent an idea for an individual? Oh, that's.
Okay. It
Mhm.
usually takes 2 years on an average.
Mhm.
It may take
Mhm.
more time.
Mhm.
Nowadays, they have speeded up many applications. So some of our
Mhm.
applications we got patent in less than 2 years time. So it depends which kind of application you are filing, and application to application basically. So if you are a startup, there are
Patent.
possibilities that you get. Hmm.
Okay, okay. I'm stopping you in between. Patent an idea means he's asking that about means you are telling about the filing of the patent or for the granting of the patent.
Of the patent.
Granting of the
No,
patent, yes, this is true. This it will take. Yes, it is nowadays. Process is little bit faster, and now it takes only 2 years or sometimes less than that also. So there is one more question: is how to commercialize any patent? Means this is the actually main question that now universities or institutes patenting their ideas, but the main way that how we can go through from the patenting to the means a road from patenting to commercialization, how we connect that.
Tools for patent IP commercialization. You are asking about patent or IP? Normal.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
are normal IPs. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So first thing, whenever the right approach is when you have the customer to your products, then only you should patent your products. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, it's usually different in
Mhm.
Indian scenarios that we patent product firstly and then we search that whether it will be commercialized or not.
Mhm.
So that is
Mhm.
wrong approach.
Mhm.
Firstly, you should think about whether you will be able to market it or not. And if
Mhm.
it's a commercializable product, then only you should file for patent, because patent is a costly process. It may take from 50,000 to 1,50,000 or for Indian ordinary patent application.
Mhm.
So that's why the right way is firstly find out, check the validate the market whether it will be okay or not. Till
Mhm.
that time, you can file provisional application. That is not very costly.
Mhm.
Provisional can file and then you can check market viability, feasibility.
Mhm.
You can check whether market is accepting such things or not. You can discuss with experts,
Mhm.
and if you find some potential in that, then you should go for complete application. This is the first thing. Other thing
Okay.
he is asking about, I think, how to commercialize. So there are
Hmm.
different things like many platforms are there where you
Hmm.
can check. The most preferred way is the it's not there is not like a very we can say standard process for these things. We
Mhm.
can choose many things, like if you have invented something related to air conditioning,
Mhm.
can communicate with air conditioning manufacturers, air conditioning related research organizations, and
Mhm.
by that communication and convincing them, then you can sell your IPs. So this is one of the way. Some of
Mhm.
the organizations also work for selling your IPs, like there are Copyright Society of India
Mhm.
works for selling rights.
Mhm.
In NRDC, National Research Development Council, which
Mhm.
work have different facilities for licensing all IP rights. There
Mhm.
are IP facilitation cells which can help you out. You can
Mhm.
also associate with incubation centers. If they have some entrepreneurs with them, you can sell
Mhm.
out your technologies to them. You can license out.
Mhm.
So there are
Mhm.
no standard procedures. You can
Mhm.
select any out of these.
Okay. Okay. So basically, we have to search about the demand in the market, and then we should go for the research. Is it like that?
Yeah.
So but sometimes in academic institution we usually do not keep in this mind that what actually what are the necessity of the market, and how we have to go. We are doing usual research, but from lab to market, that sometimes, because in a lab we are doing in a very small scale, and when it comes to the industrial level, then we need to go for a large scale production, and there we find certain difficulties that how we can do the things. This is the main things that usually academic institutions are facing. But anyway, yeah, I think this is the.
That can be done actually. If you
Mhm.
take example of Western university, topmost universities of the world,
Mhm.
they are earning more than their conventional business from the intellectual properties.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so I was just recently reading one article. They state
Mhm.
that 98%, 97 to 98% of the revenue of Harvard came from selling their intellectual property rights.
Okay.
So you can just imagine they are not just collecting their fees. 3 to 4% of they are just earning 3 to 4% from their conventional business models. So that can be done in India also, and I think IITs are also doing that.
Yeah, maybe in future we can do such
Yeah,
things.
as Mr. Abhijit is saying with respect to Harvard, because they have a full-fledged publishing company within Harvard Business School, and
Yeah,
that publishes HBR, Harvard Business Review, one of the
right,
most widely circulated, you can say, journal or magazine in the
right,
management world. And that itself, and the second is their case collections. So these two are the intellectual property under the copyrights. So when you say the total earning of Harvard Business School, these two are the main sources of their income.
right, right,
Even when I was there, I came to know, or rather, I experienced on my own that the logo of Harvard they have protected it so beautifully that you cannot get a t-shirt, a cap, a pen where a Harvard logo is printed. That is only available in their official store, and that is also too expensive to purchase. Like in IIT Roorkee case, our t-shirts and all these things are freely available in civil line markets.
okay,
So we are not able to properly protect the particular logo, though it is protected under the Trademark Act, but we are not able to
right,
enforce it. So they
right,
are earning with their logo also, not only the copyright, but their logo is also giving them huge earnings. So Abhijit is very right that it is your ability that how you are able to earn through your intellectual property, and the source is not only patent. There can be multiple sources through which you can earn in case of intellectual property.
right,
All coaching institutes now they have earning through fee, as well as they have distributed their franchisee. So that is basically their trademark they have given to different cities, and through that they earn and royalties. So that is also a type of earning based on your intellectual property. So McDonald, another good name, simple name, that McDonald had given its franchisee throughout the world, and earning huge revenue. So intellectual property, if it is properly managed, can give you huge amount of revenue, and that is what I think Abhijit is trying to focus in today's. We can have more questions if there are.
One
Actually,
more
I
question,
just
sir.
I just
Yeah,
want
please.
to add something.
Please.
It's not like we can we India is a separate market. We have a separate nature and we have a separate culture here. So it's not possible to directly copy Western the ideas here and implement here. So if we try to do that, we will always be second because they are the originators of that and they will be always first. So we have certain things in India. I'm mentioning it because I think someone from audience will work on it, and it can be a separate career in India. Okay, we have a old culture in India. We have thousands of years history. Okay, and we have many things in India which can be protected and which can be marketed very well in India. Like in Nasik we have brass utensil makers in Nasik. It's very famous business. And they have history of some thousand years. And like Nasik, we have hundreds of cities in India who have their own specialty. And if we can protect and if we can propose some special kind of intellectual property which can protect all these things, then I think we will have great opportunities in the sector. Because only patents, of course, are not Indian properties. Like trademarks, our ancestors were using trademarks for trading because India was an exporting nation. So many things like handicraft, then furniture, uh, food products, toys, all those things were exported to other countries in ancient Indian period. So all those things were having some symbols, manufacturer symbols, which we call today as a trademark. Okay, so these things, our ancestors were well known. They were knowing about all those things. Okay, and trade secrets. Even we have a 60,000 registered technologies which were kept trade secrets in ancient period. Like if you go to West Bengal, the West Bengali jewelry, the making, manufacturing, and other processes are still trade secret. If you go to South India, the Siddha medicines, the one of the most advanced kind of medicines, they can even cure brain tumors and all kind of cancers also. So the medicines and the processes are still trade secret. Okay, so these are the things which we can focus on. We should not focus on western things because they have done it. It doesn't mean that we can do it here. Of course we can, but we have our own flavor, so we should focus on that. Okay, yeah.
Hmm. So, one more question actually, Sarthak is from Sarthak Gupta. He's asking that how to effectively protect IP worldwide while using the least money.
List
Money.
money. Okay. First thing, it's not the protecting worldwide, it's about IP strategy. What you want to get out of intellectual property, that will decide where you will protect and what you will get from that. Okay, so it's not about just protection, legal procedure. It's about what you want to withdraw from IP protection, which benefits you want from IP protection. So if you want to protect, like there are countries like below poverty line countries, those who have very means they are just struggling economically, and if you want to protect there, and if you don't have any economic significance, if you're not getting any revenue from that, so it will not be of any use actually. uh, so question itself, I don't think I have a proper answer of that,
Mhm.
because until and unless you specify the countries, we cannot say how you should protect. Yeah.
Okay. So, now this is the end of the question answer session. Thank you, Abhijit. I'll
Yeah.
request Professor Rajat Agrawal to give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Abhijit, for taking time for enlightening our audience with IP strategy and how they can. I particularly liked that you also suggested certain career aspects related to IP and IP activities, how they can go for IP valuation, IP portfolio management, and these are new things in India, and we require more manpower for speeding up the process of IP in India. So there are certainly good amount of career options for our young generation. And as you said, that IP is a very vast area. It consists of legal as well as management aspects. So I hope that audience could understand some aspects of IP today. Uh, we will be doing these workshops again and again, and we will surely love to invite you sometime to the campus also once things will come to the normal. And thanks to all the participants also for actively participating in this workshop. And this shows that you have a spark about either protecting your innovations or utilizing this knowledge in your future endeavors. We are also thankful to the team IPR Cell led by Dr. Mini for making all the arrangements, contacting the speakers, and our team of Institute Computer Center for providing the logistics support and live streaming of this particular webinar for larger audience. So with that, we finally come to the end of this particular session, where we got a lot of interesting insights, and hope we will be connected in future also. With that, finally, we can now close the webinar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Abhijit.
Yeah, thanks, Mini.